Hey everyone, and welcome to another fantastic episode coming right now to you of FaceTurn with Candace Cordelia. I am your host, Candace Cordelia, and today our episode is all about your Impact World Champion, Josh Alexander. Now, we haven't had Josh here on the show before, so sir, first and foremost, thank you so much. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Likewise, thank you so much. So we have to get right into things. We have a bunch of topics to talk about. The first one I want to slam dunk on is, you faced off Mr. Doring yesterday, as this interview will come out by next week's time. I mean, that will technically be old news, but we want to get into things because you asked for this match. You asked EVP Scott D'Amore for this match and you did it, but you weren't successful. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, wasn't successful in getting the win, but I survived. You see, I understand with facing Eric Young at Slammiversary that I don't just have to deal with Eric Young. I have to deal with all of Violent by Design. So I figured I might as well, go face to face with the biggest guy in that group. And that's why I picked Joe Doring last night. I think he came out more worse for wear than he thought he might have going into it. So I think mission accomplished for me. I've sent a message to Eric Young and Violent by Design.
Absolutely. And I can agree with that for sure. I mean, for Slammiversary coming up on June 19th, as you stated, you will be facing Eric Young. And it does seem like when you're facing anyone in Violent by Design, it's pretty much a package deal. So how are you feeling going into this match now with Mr. Eric Young, having faced Doring and the events that have occurred with that match?
I mean, I can't say I feel great about having three people to worry about as opposed to one, but honestly, as world champion, the face of Impact Wrestling, all this stuff, I understand. I started my relationship with Impact Wrestling as a fan. I've watched this place for years, and anybody that is the king of the mountain, as they say, has a target on their back, and everybody's waiting to push them off. So if I'm going to go down in the history books as one of the greatest champions in this company's history, I can't, shy away from these challenges and this stuff. So I'm all right with it.
Right on. And I love the fact that you mentioned, being a part of Impact Wrestling for a few years now. I believe you started in 2018. We are experiencing an anniversary, 20th year anniversary with Impact, which is such a huge accomplishment. Since your time at Impact Wrestling, how has it been for you in terms of things that you've loved being a part of with the company and with the promotion, and certain memories that you might have since starting with the promotion as well?
I mean, I have a lot of good memories since I started here, 3.5 years ago. I've achieved like the impossible to me. I'm the Triple Crown champion already. I've won every championship there is to win for me here. And I'm currently holding the world championship, something I never thought possible. The thing that I love the most about Impact Wrestling, the reason why I re-signed here, not only because I was such a big fan of this place growing up, is because this is the land of opportunity to me, especially, in those early years. We're coming up on the 20th anniversary. You talk about those first 5 years, this place was a little engine that could. They were going up against the biggest, baddest company in the world trying to make a name for themselves. And they did that by, giving opportunities to young, up and coming, unknown talents, people like AJ Styles, Low-Key, Samoa Joe, even the Gail Kims and all the knockouts that made history and like set that division on fire. They were the true women's revolution. And Impact Wrestling was like the first the first company to really do that. And now, in the same vein as they did before, in the last like 4 or 5 years, Impact Wrestling has really, management at least, has really changed gears and gone back to their roots. And they've been given opportunities to young, hungry, up and coming talents. And that's people like myself, people like Tasha Steeles, people like Deonna Purrazzo, people like Ace Austin and Mike Bailey. I could go on and on. This roster is full of young, hungry people, and they're trying to build their own stars, because in pro wrestling, all we can ask for is opportunities. And like all I've ever said since I've been here is give me the ball. If I drop it, fire me. But like, as you can see, in three and a half years, luckily, I fumbled the ball enough in my 14 years before I got to Impact Wrestling. So now that I'm on the biggest stage, getting these opportunities, when I get the ball, I hit, I get touchdowns every time.
And that's certainly true. I mean, and I have to give you a congratulations for becoming the Impact World Champion. I mean, I personally was so invested in your storyline with Moose and seeing how things were progressing. And I was rooting for you. I'm not going to lie. I was really hoping for Rebellion that you would get that championship title, and you did which is fantastic. A lot of fans were rooting for you. What does it feel to have that title in your hands right now, knowing the story that we saw, the struggles that you were facing up against Moose, and just the ups and downs of everything that transpired?
I mean, it's all unbelievable to me. Like, I have to stop and pinch myself, as they say every once in a while, because I never imagined any of this possible. But like, people talk about me winning the championship the first time at Bound for Glory, and defeating a legend in Christian Cage, not only in TNA history, but a legend in this business, was like, that's a feather in my cap. That's a bucket list thing. That's amazing. But I think being champion now, after defeating Moose, after that long storied 7-month climb back to the championship, was the best way to go about this. Now it made it even sweeter, because it also gave fans an opportunity to get to know me more than just what I could produce in the ring, which is all they saw up until Bound for Glory. Really, they got to know me, they got to know my family, they got to know what I'm all about. And I think it made being a champion, being the face of Impact Wrestling now, that much better.
Amen. Amen to that. I don't know how many people watching know that you are Canadian. I love Canada. I have family in Canada. It's one of the best places on earth, in my opinion. Being a Canadian and also being in Nashville, I would love to know, what are some things that you appreciate about Nashville itself?
Well, I've been asked that question a few times over the past few weeks, and Nashville would be my first pick. If I was going to move to anywhere in America, that would be the first place I'd go. Especially during the pandemic, I spent so much time here because we did tapings here every 5 to 6 weeks. But I love that there's seasons here. I find that Florida and California and all these places, that's far too hot for me. Somebody coming from Canada, where 6 months out of the year you're in a sweater and a winter coat. But I just find like everybody here is just so positive and nice and, easygoing and all that stuff. It's just a really good environment to be around in Nashville. And it has such a rich wrestling history that, not just, for my own personal things, but my professional business pursuits, being around Nashville is awesome.
100%. I love Nashville as well. And I think the perception a lot of people think about Nashville is country music, but I know from experience, there's all different types of genres of music that you can hear floating in the air in Nashville. When you're in Nashville itself, is there a particular thing that you love to do when you're not wrestling?
My thing, like I'm kind of an introvert and all this stuff, I'll go to movies and do like little things like that. I'm not a big party guy, but my thing is to go to little like personally owned gyms in whatever city I'm in. So in Nashville, I frequented a gym called Gym 5 here. It's one of my favorite gyms I've ever been to in the entire world. So that's my favorite place to go to here.
All right. Might have to check that out. I love a good gym. I can't knock that. So that sounds cool.
Sorry. I have to put over Hattie B's hot chicken. I've never been a huge fried chicken guy, like KFC and whatever we have in Canada, but I came down here. I love spicy food. That hot chicken is unreal.
Ooh, virtual high five. I love a good fried chicken, especially if it's coming from a place like Nashville, because the food there is just out of this world, right? But I want to go again back to Slammiversary, June 19th. You're facing Eric Young. What are you thinking ahead of this match? If there's anything else that you can provide for us, because I mean, this is one of the most highly anticipated matches, I believe fans just cannot wait for it to see on the day of.
I'm starting to get the butterflies. I'm starting to feel the pressure. You know what I mean? And I'm a kind of guy that likes the pressure. When my back's pushed against the wall, I always seem to rise to the occasion. So the bigger the pressure, the bigger the result for me. So it seems. And, 20-year anniversary, having the belt on my shoulders. Like I said, I started my relationship with this company as just a fan, 16 years old, sitting on my couch, ordering the pay-per-view like everybody else. Mm-hmm. And for it to come full circle now, 20 years later, for me to be a part of history, coming back to Nashville, the place where like I saw all those talents that, inspired me to become a professional wrestler, grow themselves, kind of put a button on it. It's amazing. Yeah. I think it's going to be a great opportunity to make a history making match. It's the first time ever matchup for me and Eric Young.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we can't wait to see what happens next, because Violent by Design, I mean, if you see what those guys have been up to in Impact Wrestling, there's always some type of drama, always some type of foil. And, you just kind of love to see them lose. At least I do. So if you're watching, I'm sorry guys, but it is what it is. That's how it is in my book. But we can't wait to see what happens between you and your match with Eric Young. Is there any match besides your match with Christian Cage, besides your match with Moose, within your tenure in Impact Wrestling that you have such fond memories of?
Oh, number one, that's the easiest question I've been asked for in a long time. It's the Iron Man I had with TJP. I knew going into that match, as soon as they told me about it, that it was just an enormous opportunity for me to set myself apart and make a name for myself, especially just becoming a singles wrestler a few months prior, because Ironman matches on television don't come along very often. And I knew the kind of chemistry that me and TJP had together, and I knew we could make magic. And I think with that match, we trapped lightning in a bottle, and that doesn't happen very often in this business. So.
Yeah. So it sounds like a rematch is something that you wouldn't shy away from if given the chance then.
Absolutely not. I have this world championship now. I defended the X Division championship in an Ironman match. I would love to do another Ironman match with the heavyweight or the world championship.
100%. So after June 19th, Slammiversary, your match with Eric Young, what would be next for Josh Alexander?
I mean, as a two-time now world champion, I'm a kind of guy that always wants to be progressing and moving forward and setting new goals. And my next goal is to honestly go down in the history books with those people that inspired me. Like I want to be named in the same vein when you talk about TNA and Impact history alongside AJ Styles and Low Ki and Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle and all those people. So it's just retaining the title, having bigger and bigger matches. I think, one of the matches that I hope happens, because we've also never had a match, and I think it would be magic, is myself and Eddie Edwards in a singles match.
That would be really special. I really would like to see that. My last question for you, sir, is, and you talked about the Knockouts division. You talked about Impact Wrestling giving young, hungry wrestlers a chance and really helping them get their upstart in the industry. Is there anything else about Impact Wrestling that makes the promotion so special in your eyes?
I mean, I think they're not afraid to innovate where other people, might be so hesitant. Like this Sunday at Slammiversary, we're talking about the first ever history making Queen of the Mountain match. We got everyone in that match is a former Knockouts champion. You got Tasha Steele's current Knockouts champion, who I think is like personally one of my favorites to watch. I think she's super talented and she's doing everything that she should be right now. But like, that's what I mean. Just like we had the first ever Knockouts Ultimate X match, just the idea of the Ultimate X match in the first place within the last 20 years happening in Impact Wrestling. I think it's the most innovative thing that's happened in pro wrestling. So, we're not afraid to take chances, risks, and innovate. And sometimes, the ideas are a little rough around the edges and they don't really hit home runs, but at least we're taking chances. We're trying to innovate. We're trying to give fans new things. And I think that's a real benefit of us.
And I'm glad I took a chance in getting the chance to interview you today, Mr. Josh Alexander. It's really lovely meeting you. I hope we'll cross paths in person again. And I also can't wait to see what comes of your match against Eric Young, June 19th, Impact Slammiversary. Once again, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you.
You're so welcome. And thank you everyone for watching this lovely episode of FaceTurn with Candace, Cordelia, where I bring you exclusives and scoops with your favorite wrestlers and other luminaries in the wrestling industry. Please do not forget to watch Slammiversary June 19th. You can catch it on Fight TV at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And the pre-show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, is free. So you have no excuse not to watch it. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.